Episode 14, The Price. Evelyn remained on the cold stone floor of the cave, her breath coming in shallow, uneven gasps. Every muscle in her body screamed with pain, but it was the weight in her chest that truly crushed her. She had done it. She had contained the Hollow Man, but at what cost? Her mind was foggy, but even through the haze of exhaustion, she could feel it, the Hollow Man's presence, lurking in the deepest corners of her consciousness. Though he was bound, his influence was still there, simmering like a dark shadow, just out of sight. The First stood before her, its glowing form casting long, soft shadows across the chamber. The ancient guardian seemed to sense her fear, and for the first time, its featureless face tilted slightly, as if in sympathy. "You have done what no other could, Evelyn," the First said, its voice low and calm. "The Hollow Man is sealed, and the curse that has plagued your family is finally at an end." Evelyn pushed herself up onto her hands and knees, her limbs trembling with the effort. "But I can still feel him," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "He's not gone. He's still inside me." The First didn't respond immediately. Instead, it stepped closer, kneeling beside her. Its glowing hand reached out, gently resting on her shoulder. "He is bound to you, yes," the First said quietly. "But his power is contained. He cannot harm you, nor can he harm anyone else. As long as you remain strong, the world will be safe from his darkness." Evelyn looked up at the First, tears welling in her eyes. "But for how long?" she asked, her voice trembling. "How long before he finds a way to break free? How long before I become like him?" The First tilted its head, the glow of its form pulsing softly. "That depends on you, Evelyn. The Hollow Man's strength comes from fear, from doubt. As long as you hold on to the light within you, he will remain bound. But if you let the darkness take hold, if you allow him to feed on your fears, then he may find a way to escape." Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest. She had been strong enough to perform the ritual, to bind the Hollow Man. But could she keep him contained forever? Could she truly fight against the darkness that now lived inside her? Her thoughts spiraled, and for a moment, the cave seemed to close in on her, the shadows growing darker, the air colder. She could feel the Hollow Man stirring in the back of her mind, his presence a whisper in the distance, waiting for her to falter. "You are afraid," the Hollow Man's voice slithered through her consciousness, cold and mocking. "You know you can't control me. Sooner or later, I will break free. And when I do, you will be mine." Evelyn squeezed her eyes shut, her hands curling into fists as she fought to push the voice away. She couldn't let him take control. She couldn't let the fear consume her. The First's hand tightened gently on her shoulder, its voice steady and reassuring. "Remember, Evelyn, the light is within you. It has always been there, passed down through your bloodline. It is the same light that allowed your ancestors to bind the Hollow Man in the first place. That light is your strength. Hold on to it." Evelyn took a deep breath, forcing herself to focus. The light. She had felt it before, during the ritual, the warmth that had pushed back against the Hollow Man's darkness, the strength that had allowed her to bind him. It was still there, somewhere inside her. She just had to find it. Slowly, she opened her eyes, looking up at the First. "How do I keep him from breaking free?" she asked, her voice stronger now, though still tinged with uncertainty. The First rose to its feet, its form towering over her like a beacon of light in the darkened cave. "By living your life, Evelyn. By not allowing him to consume you. You have faced the Hollow Man and survived. You are stronger than you know. Trust in that strength." Evelyn pushed herself up, shakily standing on her feet. Her body still ached, and her mind felt heavy, but the First's words gave her a flicker of hope. Maybe she could do this. Maybe she could keep the Hollow Man contained, as long as she didn't let the darkness take hold. But even as she steadied herself, a nagging doubt remained. The Hollow Man was bound, yes, but she was the vessel now. She had become part of the curse, just as her ancestors had been. Was this the end? Or had she simply taken on a burden that she would carry for the rest of her life? The First seemed to sense her unease, and for the first time, its form dimmed slightly, as if acknowledging the weight of her question. "The curse is broken, but the price is great," the first said, its voice softer now. "You carry a heavy burden, Evelyn. But you are not alone. The light within you is a gift, passed down through your family. It will guide you, as it has guided those before you." Evelyn nodded, though the words felt hollow. The truth was, she didn't know if she was ready for this. She had spent her entire life trying to escape the curse, and now she was bound to it more tightly than ever before. But what choice did she have? She had made her decision. She had chosen to sacrifice herself to save others, and now she had to live with that choice. The first stepped back, its glowing form fading as the energy in the cave began to dissipate. "Your journey is not over, Evelyn. The Hollow Man is bound, but the darkness will always seek a way in. You must remain vigilant." Evelyn swallowed hard, her mind racing with questions, with doubts. But before she could speak, the first began to fade, its form dissolving into the air, like mist. "Wait," she called out, her voice echoing in the now empty chamber. "What happens now? What do I do?" But there was no answer. The first was gone, leaving her alone in the silent, dark cave. Evelyn stood there for a long moment, her heart heavy with the weight of what had just happened. The air was still, the magic that had once filled the cave now gone, leaving behind only the faint glow of the runes on the altar. She was alone. The Hollow Man was bound, but she was his vessel now. And though the cave was silent, she could still feel him, waiting, watching, biding his time. With a deep breath, Evelyn turned and walked toward the cave entrance. The path ahead was uncertain, and the weight of the Hollow Man's presence pressed down on her, but she knew one thing for sure. This was far from over. End of episode 14.